Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Zakat on debts in the Hanbali school. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu salam ala Rasul al-Kareem. Rabbana taqabbal minna zidna ilma wa hikma wa huda. Al-Asalullah an yuwafiqna lima yuhibbu wa yarda. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad abduka wa rasuluka nabiyyul ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima. أعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا اللهم آتنا نفوسنا تقواها وزكيها أنت خير من زكاها وليها ومولاها اللهم شكرنا أما بعد. All the praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything in the world is by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah, He made the akhirah, and that's what our life here is about for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah send His blessings upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and his peace on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's who we follow, the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what we're going to talk about the zakat, and the next section that we're on is the zakat on debts, on loans that people they gave out, and what's the ruling on the zakat on them, how should a person they pay them. And this is explained by Ibn Qudamah al-Maqdisi, who's one of the main students of Ahmad Ibn Hanbal, and he went through the points there for the different issues on the zakat. Okay, so let's go through, maybe going to read number 5 first, and then we'll go through the other ones. These are what happens if a person, they loan money to somebody, and could you read that one, Sheikh Omar, number 5?
Says, then on it is zakah when he gets and paid the zakah on what was due on it in the past.
Yeah, so in the Hanbali school, what happens is if a person, they loan money to somebody, then when they get it back, then they have to look at what the zakat was due on it in the past, and they pay it off retroactively, all the things that they had. Like, let's say somebody loaned money, $100,000, right? And then the person owes the person $100,000. So what happens is the first year goes by, second year goes by, third year goes by, the person doesn't pay the zakat on it. And the fourth year goes by, he doesn't pay zakat on it. So let's say the person gets it back after 5 years. Then when he gets the $100,000 back after 5 years, then he's going to look at what he had owed in the previous 5 years. The 2.5% in the first year, and then subtract that, and whatever amount is remaining, another 2.5% the second year, then subtract that, and another, and then the 5 years, then you see what the total amount he would have paid in zakat if he had kept that money. And then he pays it off. That's when he receives the money back. So he doesn't have to pay the zakat until he gets the money back. Then he's got to pay the zakat. That's how he pays the zakat on those loans that the person they gave out. When he gets it, then he pays back what was due on it in the past. Because the thing is, that's what in the Hanbali school, that's what they go by. Because you have an issue that maybe a person, they might not get it back. One thing happens or another, then why then the person already paid the zakat on it. So he waits until he gets it back, and he knows he has it for sure, and then he pays back the zakat retroactively. That's what he says. That's the ruling in the Hanbali school. All right? Okay, inshallah. And again, the things are divided whether a person, they know they're going to get it back or not, or they're pretty sure, that they're going to get it back, or is it a good possibility that they're not going to get it back? So there's two different categories there. So the Sheikh, he mentions that on the first 4 things, that the person, they pay it back retroactively when they get it. Did you read the first one, Sheikh Omar? First one?
Man kana lahu daynun ala mali. Whoever has a loan to a solvent person capable of paying.
Yes. So if a person loaned money to somebody, and that person, he's able to pay the person back, then what happens is then the person, obviously when he gets it back, then he pays the money back on it. So that's how the Sheikh, he explained it. If a person, they loaned it to somebody that's solvent means that the person is capable of paying it back, and he's very likely to pay it back, and he has the capability of paying it back. That's the word the solvent means in Arabic, and that's a good translation for it. Man kana lahu dayn ala muli'. Muli' is word solvent. If a person, they gave a loan to somebody that is capable of paying it back, then what happens is zakat is due on that money, when he actually gets paid back. That's the first section. Okay, let's say that Sheikh Omar, you have one of your buddies, your friends, or your brother, or something like that, and he has plenty of money, but he just wanted to borrow some money from you, so you loan it to him. So he's a solvent person; he's able to pay you back, and then he pays you back after 3 years or something like that. Then when you get it back, then you have to look at the zakat on all those 3 years that would have been owed on him and pay that. That's what the Sheikh says. And somebody that's capable of paying you back. Okay. All right. Okay. Read number 2.
أو مال يمكن خلاصه
Khalasu. Okay.
or wealth that can be recovered.
Yes. So if a person, they loan somebody some money, and the person, they're able to get his wealth back from the person. Maybe the person might not be willing to pay it back immediately, but a person, if they press on it or they persist on it, then they can get it back. Like for example, let's say you loan money to a fasik, like a not a good person. You loan him like $10,000, then you go back every year, say, pay me my money back, pay me my money back. He refuses to pay you back. And he says, okay, then he can go to the court, tell the judge and things like that. The judge will transfer the money back to you. So then, in that case, it will be zakat on you, because it could be recovered from the person. Or let's say a person, they bought a very expensive motorcycle, right? He bought the money on it, and he said, I don't have the cash to pay you back, but maybe if he sells a motorcycle, he can recover the money from so that's what he says. If a person, they're able to recover the money from the person, not necessarily the person paying it back directly, but somehow or another they can recover the money. And another example is if a person, they died, right? And then his inheritors, the person, they can pay the person back, so it's able to recover it. Okay, that's number 2. Okay, you read number 3 also.
Like one that you have proof against that denies.
Yes. So he's talking about how a person, situations where a person, they can recover the money. So in this scenario, he says, let's say a person, they loaned the money to Fulan. They loaned some money to Fulan, and then 3 years later, he goes to Fulan and said, where's my money that you owe me? He said, I didn't owe you any money. What are you talking about? He lies, that. So then the person says, I have proof, I have it written down that you loaned me the money. And so then the person has that evidence, even though the person denies it, but the person has the evidence, and so he can recover the money from the person if he presses it. He can go to the court, and the judge will say, what's your proof that you loaned the money? And he said, here's the document, I have it, the signed witnesses and all those things. So he has proof that the person owed money. Or a person, sometimes these days, you find in today's day and age, what people they do is they have, I watch this on TV all the time. A person owes another person money, and the other person, they go to him, and he says to him, where's my money? I loaned you this money. Then the other person says, oh, it was a gift. That's always the excuse they give. It was a gift. You didn't loan me the money. Then the judge asks, do you have any evidence? He said, yes, I have this email, I have this text message, I have this. And he shows the judge. I said, oh yeah, it says right here, you said it was a loan that you had. So some people, they're like that. They owe money, but they try to get out of it, so they try to make excuses. So they'll say, the first thing they might say is if they're dishonest, they say, I loaned you the money. They say, oh, no, you didn't loan me anything, I don't remember, I don't recall it, or something like that. Then if a person, they have proof, then the person, they try to come up with another excuse. They say, oh, this was a gift. So all these things you see, if you watch on the TV, they have these court programs, and you see that all the time on it. So that's what he's saying. So if the person, they have evidence that the person owes the money, then the person, they can press the situation and get the money back. Okay, that's what the Sheikh, he says in number 4 also. If a person, they have evidence of somebody that denies it, but a person has proof, they gave it to it. And you read number 4.
The embezzler that you are able to take back.
Yes. So let's say somebody, he's a very dishonest person, he takes loans from people and purposely doesn't pay it back. That's an embezzler. That's what they call it, maqsood. He cheats people that way. But if a person, they're able to take it back from one way or another, from evidence or other things, then then when the person, they get it back, they have to pay the zakat on it. And so that's what that refers to, a person that took the money and said that he was going to pay it back, and then afterwards, he tries to keep it, but some way or another, a person, they're able to get it back from him, then they got to pay the zakat on it when they get it back retroactively. As they say, so all these situations, the Sheikh, he says it applies. And that's the thing to bear in mind when people, they give loans, they give the loans out. And I can tell you, people that have experience in their life, you see that so many people, they borrow money. Do you always get paid back? A lot of times you don't get paid back. And that happened in my life, my personal experience. I loaned my friends, several times I loaned them some money, then they never paid it back. And some people, they will pay it back, but the problem is you have to keep bugging them.
Yeah.
That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you loan the person money, and then some people, they'll pay you back right away. They say, yes, I owe you money, I'll pay you back right away. You don't have to remind them. But other people, they're not going to keep the money that you gave them, but you have to keep bugging them. Like every week you have to ask them, and I keep asking them, and then eventually they'll pay you back. That's how, like, some people they are. And just some other people, it's just that they don't have money to pay you back. That's the issue. The reason they borrowed the money, because they were in need of money. They had to pay their bills and expenses, so you loaned them the money, and then they paid their loans, and they paid their expenses, and then when you ask them, they give the money back. I said, I can't, I have all these expenses. When you loaned the money, I had all these expenses. Now I have more expenses now. So that's what happens a lot of times in the life. So that's the thing to bear in mind, when the person, they give the loan. Well, the way I see it now is if somebody, they take a loan, it's like sadaqah, you loan the person money and let them keep it, because sometimes it's very hard to get a return, from people. Just give it to them, somebody as a sadaqah, alhamdulillah, you get the reward for it. And a person, they could do that too. If somebody owes them money, they can let it go and count it as sadaqah also. Okay, inshallah, so that's what the Shaykh, he says. If a person, they got their money back, then they pay the zakat retroactively on that. That's what we talked about at number 5. In all the past years that the zakat was due on it, then he pays it back. Okay, so let's go to number 6. The 6 is the other situation. You read that one, Sheikh Omar?
If the person has reason not to pay, no zakat on it.
Yes. So what happens is sometimes a person, they might try to get the money back with the person, but the person, they fell into, they have an excuse for it, the person, there, some reason they're unable to pay it back. Maybe they became sick, they lost their job, and somebody stole their money and things like that. These are the things for it. And then if the person, they have a reason that they can't pay back, and they legitimately, they really want to pay the person back, but they're unable to for one reason or another, then in that case there's no zakat on the money that you gave the person. So let's say a person, they have 100,000, right? 100,000, they loaned it to somebody, 100,000. If they kept it, the zakat would have been on it, 2.5% every year, but they loaned it to the person. Then after a number of years, the person says, I have all these bills and I'm unable to pay you back, And then the person becomes sick or something like that, and then he's not able to pay you back. Then there's not zakat on that money, There's not zakat on it, because the person, they have an excuse where they can't pay you back. You're not going to get your money back, so then you don't pay the zakat on it, Okay, so that's the first thing that he says. Let's read number 7.
Number 7 says, كانت دين الله
Muflis. It's like a person.
Like a debt on a bankrupt person.
Yes. So a person, they loan money, and what happens is the person became bankrupt. And bankrupt means that the person, they don't have any money whatsoever. That's what they have. And they have this rule in Islam also. They have what's called a bankruptcy and seizure that they have. It's very, very similar to what you have in America, in the bankruptcy and seizure. And what a person, they do is the authority, like the judge, they go and they see what the person they have in the assets, and they distribute it to all the people that he owes money to. And they don't take like the person's personal property, like they don't take the person's house or the person's car, and, person's tools and things like that. Just the additional things that the person they have that he doesn't need, that they distribute it to all the people that he owes money to in the debt. So that's what they have here in America. They have that bankruptcy. They have that, and they have it's very advanced in the law over here. They have Chapter 7, Chapter 11. These things are there in the bankruptcy law. So what happens is a person, they loan somebody some money, and then after a while the person is muflis, completely bankrupt, doesn't have any money whatsoever. So how is the person going to get the money back? It's not, So therefore there's not zakat in that case. Okay, that's number 7, bankrupt. And on a side note, as a tangent on this, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he asked somebody, do you know who is the bankrupt? And the Sahaba, they said, Allah and His Messenger know best. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's not just, it's not the people that don't have a dinar or dirham, that don't have any money, but it's a person that comes on the Day of Judgment with a lot of good deeds. But then because he backbited people and said bad things about people, badmouth other people, then it becomes reduced so much, so he has nothing left, the good deeds. And that's something that a person they're going to be very careful about, is on the Day of Judgment, if a person, they badmouth somebody, and they take the good deeds from one person to another. If a person, they did injustice to somebody, they took the right away from somebody else, on the Day of Judgment, Allah takes the good deeds from one person and transfers into the other person. And then if all the good deeds run out of the person, then Allah takes the sins of the second person and gives it to the first person on the Day of Judgment. So this hadith that's very dangerous, be careful. Person might come with a lot of good deeds, and then because of the bad mouthing, he becomes bankrupt, muflis. But over here in this world, it refers to the bankruptcy when a person, they don't have any money left at all. They have nothing, zero, and that's what's called bankrupt. And then that's what happens. So a person loans some money to somebody, and then he becomes bankrupt. Then he probably owes money to a lot of other people also. So it's very unlikely the person, they're going to ever see their money again. So in that case, there's no zakat. Okay, that's the first one, number 7. That's the example of where there's no zakat on it. Do number 8.
أو على جاهده ولا بينه به.
Yes, over here when they use the word jahadun, means a person that purposely lies and purposely tries to avoid paying the debts back. They lie about it. So if a person loans somebody to some money to somebody, and then the person, they go and they try to collect it from him, and he lies about it. He says, no, he never gave me any money. What are you talking about? I don't remember this. I think your memory is failing you or something like that. He says like that. And the person, they just blatantly deny it and they lie about it. Then how is a person going to get the money back? Especially if they don't have any proof for it. So that's what this is talking about. One that denies it and there's no proof that the person loaned him money. That's what Allah says in the Quran, when the ayahs that's mentioned there, that when a person, they take a loan, they take 2 witnesses and write it down. So in that way a person, they have the proof. Because otherwise a person later on might say, oh, he never loaned me any money. Or the person, some people, they're just like their memory is failing, so they don't remember that he loaned the money, so you have those issues. So that's the second case. If a person loaned them the money, then they deny it. Oh, I never got any money from you. What are you talking about? That's what they say. Then the zakat is not on it. And that's similar to number 9 also. Number 9 is, would you read that one, please? One? Maghsub is an embezzler, and what that means is somebody that purposely cheats people and takes their money. Maghsub ghasab, when they do that. And this case here, it's because a lot of times a person, they'll loan somebody some money, and that person has a full intention to pay the person back. He has the intention to do it, but because of his circumstances, then he's unable to. And then you have another person, what they do is they purposely, try to milk money from people, con people, and cheat people and to give them money, and they call that an embezzler. Like you have in today's age, I'll tell you an example, like today's in the day and age, they use the phone when they have the WhatsApp. Then somebody texts you a message, oh, can you do me a favor? They're like, sure, I can do you a favor. What would you like? I said, loan me $1,000 and I'll pay you back on Friday morning. Zell me $1,000 and I'll pay you back on Friday morning. And the regular person will say, okay, this person, he needs the money for something, needs my buddy, then let me loan him, let him zell the money to this person. Then the person, he gives a different number, not the same number of the person. He said, zell it to this number. Okay. That's a con, that's a scam. So you never do that, Because what happens is that the scammers, what they do is they take over the accounts of other people, pretend to be them, then they tell all that person's friends, no, I need a favor, I need to borrow money from you, I'll pay you back in a day, they pay you back next week. And the people, they send that money to them, they loan them the money, but it turns out the scammer took it, ghasb, that's what it means, a yaghsib. Somebody that literally deceives people and steals it and takes it from them. Not like in the other case where the person, they legitimately borrowed money, just they didn't pay it back. But this one here is a scammer, literally that's what that refers to. So maybe you could use that as a translation, a scammer, somebody that scams you. So that one, in that case, you don't have to pay the zakat on that. That's the example that he gives. Okay, let's read number 10.
والضال الذي لا يرجي وجوده.
Yeah. So let's say a person, they loan money to somebody and the person went on a trip. Then person, they say, where did this person go? I have no idea where he is. And you don't know if he's around or what happened to him, anything like that. And that's how it was in the old days, The old days, people, they didn't have the communications like we have nowadays with the phone and things like that. So people would go and they have to wait until they come back and they have no idea what happened to that person. And it's very common that a person would go on a trip or leave for a trip and the person wouldn't come back and the person they're questioning, did the person disappear, did he get lost or something like that? Allah knows. So in that case, if a person loans somebody some money and then he's gone, we don't know where he is and what happened to him. When there's not zakat, you don't have to pay zakat on the money because obviously you're not going to get it back. And if you ever went to Saudi Arabia, you see how that's very easily done, Because what happens in Saudi Arabia, when you go to Mecca, there's a big city, Medina is a big city, but between them, it's like almost like 2 or 3 hours of driving, it's just plain desert, So you could just imagine in the old days when people, they went over there and they got lost or something like that, and that's it, man, they're gone, how are you going to know where they are, So that's something that's possible to happen. Or like in the old days, what would happen, the person, they would go on a business trip to Syria or something like that, and then robbers came and they killed them or something like that, but you don't know what happened to them. Or a person, they might have gone somewhere, became sick, and then died over there, and he wasn't a known person. So, so something like that, in those scenarios. So in that case, the zakat is not due on the person. Basically, these scenarios, what the Sheikh he mentions is, if a person they didn't get their money back, and they're not likely to get their money back, or if they didn't get their money back, then there's not zakat on it. But if he gets his money back, then he has to pay the zakat on it retroactively. Okay, inshallah, is that one? That's the other example. Read number 11. Okay, so he mentioned those examples. Now he talks about something else over here, 11 and 12.
حكومة الصدقات وحكم الدين.
Yes. So what happens is people, when they get married, they have to give the sadaq, the dowry. And when the contract in the marriage, the man gives the woman something of value, and the woman allows the man to have the pleasure with her, and that's a contract in the marriage. And what happens is in these marriages, a lot of times a person, they would come up with an agreed amount of the sadaq, about the dowry, but they don't necessarily have to pay it up front. They don't have to pay it in advance, they can pay it in the future. So in that case where the person that got married and they made a sadaq, they made a dowry for the woman and they haven't paid her yet, then that's also counted as a debt. The zakat is on it too. The same rules apply, as the ones that's there before. When she gets it, when she gets that money, then she has to pay the zakat on it retroactively. Let's say a person, they get married this year, right? And they say the sadaq on you is $10,000, for example, right? But I'll pay you back in the future. So then the person, they get married and they live 10 years, and then he still owes her the $10,000. Then when he pays her back the $10,000, for the dowry, then she has to pay the zakat on it. Because it's just like a debt. That's what the Sheikh mentioned. The dowry in the marriage is the same ruling as a debt. Okay, inshallah, let's go to one more, number 12.
So basically you're saying that one 11, like the woman dowry is due zakat on it?
Yes, if she hasn't received it yet. So a lot of times people, they get married and they specify a dowry, but they didn't pay, they didn't pay it yet to her. But she's owed it because they did the marriage contract with it. So a lot of times people do that. Sometimes people, they do installments. They say the dowry is like 50,000, and I'll pay you 5,000 every year for 10 years. Some places they do it that way. So in that case, that dowry is looked at as like a loan that she gave to somebody that she has to pay the zakat on it when she gets it. That's what the Sheikh is saying. So the dowry is looked at as a debt also, as a loan as well. It's not something that's free from zakat. You have to pay the zakat on it as well. No. Okay, so the last one, there's one condition for it, for the debts. Okay, so read that one there.
Okay. If the loan with the person is less than the nisab,
Nisab.
And the minimal amount for zakat, then there is no zakat on it.
Yes. So the same thing goes as a person, if they have the money directly, the zakat is not due on it until you reach the nisab, which is the threshold point where the zakat becomes due. And we talked about that last time. The nisab for gold currency is 20 dinars. It's approximately 85 grams. In today's day and age, it's about $9,000, $10,000. And the nisab on silver is 200 dirham. And that in today's day and age is only about $1,000. So if they have less than that, less than $1,000 that they loan to somebody, then there's no zakat on it because it's less than the nisab. So let's say a person like a person named is Muhammad, and he loaned Ali $500, right? And then after 5 years, he pays it back to $500. There's no zakat on the $500 because it's less than the nisab. It's less than the minimal amount, that's due, the threshold point where the zakat is due. That's what the Sheikh mentions on that point. Okay, inshallah. All right, inshallah. So let's stop over here. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. So these are the points that Ibn Qudamah made and Ahmad Ibn Hanbal in the Hanbali fiqh. And he bases things on the Sunnah. And then what happens is the people that are around nowadays, they have to study this and research this and look at the rulings that they made and come up with the rulings for today's day and age. What you have in the society in today's day and age. And the person, they should do that with knowledge, not say things out of ignorance, but learn what these things are from the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad and what's appropriate, and then base the rulings based on the knowledge. And that's the job of the ulama of today's day and age. And then the people, they should be listen to the ulama and follow them and go by their judgments and rulings, what they base on their head, not follow their feelings and follow their ignorance. And that's what's incumbent on people. So this is the section on the zakat, on the loans that they gave to people, on the debts that they gave to people. That's the zakat, that's on it. And the other way around, if they owe somebody, then they have to subtract that from the wealth that they have. That's what they say. Like, let's say a person, they have in cash, they have $10,000 in cash, but they owe somebody 9,000, right? So what they do is they don't pay zakat on the 10,000 because they owe the 9,000. So they have to subtract that from the amount. So you look at $1,000, there's zakat on the $1,000. So that's the other way around. But if a person loaned money, that's what this lesson is about. Okay, and then just advice from people, inshallah. The issue is how can a person, if they loan somebody money, how can they get it back? Is it easy to get it back? And that's things people they learn in life, inshallah. That the person, if they loan the money, then sometimes it's not so easy to get it back. So, and person they have to just keep bugging the person, and somebody like me, I don't like to do that. I don't like to keep bothering the person, bugging the person. So sometimes that's what happens. But bear in mind that on the Day of Judgment, on the Yom Al-Qiyamah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold everything in account, inshallah, on the Day of Judgment. And even the debts is very serious in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a person in the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was born a warrior in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he asked Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if I get killed, will I go to the Jannah? He said, yes. Then Angel Jibreel came down, and he said, call this person back. He says, except if you have a debt, if you owe money. So that's something that's very serious in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the thing to bear in mind. And so a person, what they have to do is if they borrow money, then they have to make sure they have the full intention of paying it back. If they do it, with the intention of not paying it back, then they're going to be fully responsible for it. Okay. All right, inshallah. Do you have any questions or comments, Sheikh Omar?